Hi guys, hello boys and girls, welcome back to English Harmony video blog. That's me, Robbie, of course. Who else could I be, right? Because there's only one owner of the website called EnglishHarmony.com, and that's me. And I've had this blog for a good few years now, about 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. And I keep going strong, and I don't have any intentions to stop running this blog because the English language is my hobby, and I love helping other foreign English speakers to achieve fluency, just the way I did it, right? But anyway, today's video is a video response to a comment I received 2 days ago, to be more specific, and I'm sorry for not being able to record the video sooner. It's just that I've been really busy, and it's a very busy time at work now. For those of you who don't know, I work in a 9-to-5 job. And lately I've been going to job at 7 o'clock in the morning just to catch up with the previous day's workload. And as you can see, I'm not shaven, and I look a bit worn out probably, but I just couldn't help recording this video response because the comment is very interesting. And I'm not going to read the entire comment here, but I'm gonna just tell you that it's about the English language bubble that allegedly Americans live in. And right from the get-go, let me tell you guys that I don't agree with that statement at all. I don't believe that Americans would be ignorant and that they just are lazy to learn other languages, because I strongly believe, and it's actually not something that I just believe, but it's a fact that humans are practical creatures. We do most things out of necessity. So basically, unless it's necessary, we're just not going to be bothered. And that's totally and completely normal. So, why do you think I learned the English language? Why do I speak fluent English? Well, for me, it's a bit different, probably because I've always been fascinated by the language. But most people who come to Ireland, which is the country where I live in, right? English is a necessity. You can't really function in the local society fully if you don't speak the English language. Well, there is a large Polish community, for example, and there are so many Polish speakers in Ireland now that they can actually do without English, because wherever they go, they will be serviced by Polish people in shops, in restaurants, in fast food restaurants, and different other outlets, in banks, and many companies will actually provide customer support in Polish. So it is possible to function without knowing the English language if you are a representative of one of those larger language groups. But me, I'm a Latvian, and Latvians are a minority here in Ireland, and basically, if I didn't speak the English language, my opportunities here would be quite limited. I wouldn't be able to get the job that I have currently. I wouldn't be able to communicate with people effectively in various institutions, which is a necessity, because if you have a family, you have children, you just have to do that. And if you constantly keep asking for others' help, and there are such people who do that, then your life is very difficult to manage, because you are not self-sufficient, right? So basically, I strongly believe that the reasons behind the prevalent notion that Americans just don't speak other languages because they're lazy, the reasons are quite different. It's because Americans don't need to speak other languages. Everyone else speaks in English. Wherever American tourists go in the world, they will be met most likely by those who speak in English, right? And the entire tourism industry is geared towards the English language. And as a matter of fact, English has become, a long time ago, right? And it has become the lingua franca. If I'm not mistaken, that's the proper pronunciation, right? Basically, it's the world's language. It's the world's business language, tourism language, media language, and it's just what it is. You can't say that it's a bad thing or it's a good thing. You just have to accept for what it is. That's the current situation in the world. English is the most commonly used language. It's very popular, and English speakers just don't have to learn other languages unless, of course, it's required by their specific circumstances, jobs that they have. Probably they work in some international companies where other languages are used, such as German, Spanish, French, whatever, Chinese, and then they might have the need to learn the other language and speak it, right? But other than that, English speakers, no matter if they're Americans or British or Irish or Australians, same thing. It's just this myth that it's the Americans who are ignorant, but I don't buy into that, right? And the commentator kind of, I have a feeling that he or she thinks that I was kind of supporting this notion, but I'm not by a long shot. I'm not saying it at all. I just said it in the in the original blog post I'm writing. Also, people associate English with the United States of America and blame Americans for being ignorant and living in their own language bubble. I wrote it, but it's not me who's behind this notion, behind this statement. It's just this myth that I'm taking, and I'm actually debunking that myth in the video, right? And so there's that. I really understand why this situation is what it is. Basically, English speakers aren't motivated to learn other languages unless, of course, it's their hobby or they're really interested in it and they travel a lot and they're trying to speak local languages. There are such people, and there's plenty of them out there. But the average Joe, the typical English speaker who goes about their daily lives, why would they be bothered if they know for a fact that wherever they go, they'll be met by English speakers, right? So I don't really buy that, and I totally and wholeheartedly agree to everything you're saying in your comment, right? And I'm going to read out a little bit of it. So we begin learning a foreign language in high school, and we can choose from Spanish, French, or German. That is all, though in the past few years schools are starting to add Chinese, right? I studied German for many years, only to find that most people in other countries don't speak German, and they think I'm a stupid American because I don't speak their language. Of course, the second language for every other country is English, which is true, so they all can speak English, which is totally natural, right? And somehow everyone in every other country assumes that my second language should have been their language, not German. So therefore, I'm a stupid American that doesn't speak whatever language they are speaking. And as I said, I wholeheartedly agree to this. It's stupid to assume that an American English speaker, or should I say an American person, is ignorant just because they don't speak whatever language is spoken in that country they visit. It's not a necessity. How can you expect a person to be fluent or just know a few words or expressions or phrases in a language which they will probably never encounter again in their daily lives while living at home in the United States, you know? And by the same token, you could accuse of many, say, Latvians of older generation especially to be ignorant too, for not learning English or French or German or whatever language that might be. But the simple fact is that so many people, say back in my country, especially in rural areas, they just don't go anywhere. They just live in their village, go by their daily lives, and the Latvian language is the only one that they actually have to speak, right? So there is no practical reason for them to learn other languages. And there are so many people who are who have embraced this whole notion of learning some other language, and they end up struggling big time because they don't. First of all, the traditional way of teaching languages is not about speaking. It's all about reading, writing, grammar, that kind of thing, right? You know the drill. And they end up not being able to speak at all. And even if they go somewhere where that language is spoken, they're just not going to use it anyway, right? So it's all down to practicality. That's my belief, and it's not just what I believe in, but it's just a fact, my friends. And the commentator, he or she didn't reveal the name, it just says teacher. Yeah, he says, or he or she. I'm not. I'm sorry for referring to you as he or she, but I just don't know whether you're a guy or a woman. I am an ESL teacher, trying to understand the things that confuse English learners, English language learners, and love your blog posts. And thank you for that. I really appreciate your interest in my blog posts and the fact that you're reading them, right? So, the only thing that I wouldn't agree probably is that the commentator says, did you know that 25% of school children in the US have parents who cannot speak English? I kind of don't buy that. Probably the more precise description would be 25% of school children in the US have parents whose first language isn't English. I would imagine that the percentage of those parents who can't speak any English at all would be much smaller than 25. I think that's a stretch, probably closer to 5 or 7 or something like that. But as I said, well, I didn't say that, but I'm saying now I'm not really sure about that. It's just my feeling, my gut feeling, because I think that 25% of school children population having parents who don't speak any English, that'd be really outrageous. But there is no actually direct connection between your parents not being able to speak any English and you being or not being able to speak English. Because if you go to school, for the biggest part of the day you communicate with your peers, with your school buddies, with teachers. So even if your parents don't know any English at all, it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be bad at English, right? It doesn't mean that you have failed as an English speaker. And as a matter of fact, I know plenty of such families here in Ireland where parents have no English whatsoever, or at best they have the basic grasp of the language and they can say a couple of words, but their children are just fluent because they've been attending the local educational system, which is all English based from the early age of 4 or 5 years old, and their English is just like the level of a native English speaker. I just hesitated here a bit, and for those of you who think that I'm not a fluent English speaker, let me tell you, even native English speakers hesitate, and it's no big deal, and I'm not going to allow that fact to damage my confidence, because I fully believe that I'm a fluent English speaker, and that's all that counts, right? No matter what you think. And you should adopt the same attitude, my friends. No matter what others think, you have to rest assured, you have to just find strength in your awareness of your own English ability, you know? Just tell yourself, I'm a fluent English speaker, I can say whatever needs to be said in any situations I may encounter during my daily conversations, and that's fine by me, right? Anyhow, let's not divert off the subject. So basically, I wholeheartedly agree with the commentator. There is no such a thing as an American English speakers language bubble. Well, the bubble may exist, but it's not for the reasons that most people believe, right? Americans basically speak mostly English just because that's practical, that's their life. You speak English in America, that's what you gotta do if you live there, right? You live in Germany, and then you'd be most likely pressed by circumstances to use the German language, to learn it, to use it. And even though you mightn't be doing that because other Germans will be speaking English to you, that's totally fine. You don't have to make excuses for that. You don't have to feel ashamed of not being able to speak German just because everyone else speaks to you in English. If they do that, it's just life. And as I said, people are practical creatures, and yes, we are lazy by nature. So partially, you could actually say, yes, Americans are lazy, but then if we agree to that, then any other nationality, any other language speaker in the world is also lazy, because unless it's really required, they're not going to be bothered to learn the other language, right? So, let's finish off this rant. It's been going on for a little bit too long maybe, so I hope I made myself clear, and thanks a lot, dear teacher, for commenting on my blog. And I hope that you guys found this video useful as well. And if you have any questions or comments of any nature whatsoever, obviously something English related, please publish them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and talk to you soon again. Bye bye.